Hello, everybody. It's Dave almost every day. Good afternoon. It is about 1:07 Eastern Time, the only time zone that matters. Eastern, the Eastern Time Zone in North America. That is the new Greenwich Mean Time. Washington Mean Time. It's Washington Mean Time. The only time zone that matters, Eastern Time. You're either ahead or you're behind, but we're right on here. Eastern Time, North America. How you doing, everybody? Dave, almost every day. Lots of interesting topics today. I don't know. I was just flooded with a whole bunch of topics. I was thinking about talking about plastic guns. You know how the that guy down in Texas is going to start putting up 3D printer plans for various types of weapons, and then you can print them out on a 3D printer, and you have a plastic gun, and then you can't necessarily be detected at security checkpoints like at schools and at airports. Is that a good thing for society? We also got 30 years of Rush Limbaugh. Oh my goodness. I tell you something. I don't often agree with Rush Limbaugh, but I do have to tip my camo cap to a probably the most successful radio talker of our day, Rush Limbaugh. How he manages to I have to listen to him. I at least have to listen to half an hour of his show every day just to see what he's talking about. So I do have to shout out to Rush Limbaugh. 30 years, 30 years. On August 8th, it will be 1 year of me. Really? Princess Bubbles? No. You've been around longer than that. It seems like you've been around a lot longer than that. Hi, Mikey Mike. Hi, Diamond Slash Ranch. Hi, Atlanta the Brave. I'm just doing another episode of my Dave almost every day. What I was doing in the past was doing a news and reviews thing on Wednesday. So we're going to continue doing that. I'm going to keep the theme of it. We're going to talk about what the big news stories are today. Okay, Rush Limbaugh, 30 years. That's a pretty big news story for me, anyway. You know, he is he's a big guy. He's a big talent, right? Death Valley records hottest month ever. California, my goodness. Holy cow. You know, you don't just have Jordy and Adam the Woo now. Now you got heat and fires and holy cow. Poor California. I hope it survives. Oh my word. So what other big news do we have here for you? Apple. $1 trillion in company value. A trillion. Can you comprehend how much a trillion is? What's that? 1,000 billion? Is that 1,000 billion? You know, a million is a billion is 1,000 million, right? And a trillion is 1,000 billion. Can anybody comprehend how much money that is? Hi, Nana Pam. Yeah, I know. I thought you read. I know. It's Dave is Dade. Amazon employee rages at Jeffrey Bezos after work injury forces her to live in a car park. uh, anyway, so how are you all doing, everybody? We're just touching on some news headlines today. Could Bernie Sanders run again for president? Who do you think it would be? Who do you think the most likely Democratic contender against Donald Trump will be? Oh, well, it's very interesting. The Koch brothers. Remember the Koch brothers? They kind of are conservatives. In weirdness they sponsor a lot of programs on PBS. A lot of the Koch brothers, Koch. It looks like Koch, but it's Koch. Anyway, they've been fighting. They're conservatives, and they've been fighting with Donald Trump over immigration and some other policies like that. So it's interesting to see how the Republicans and the conservatives are actually fighting against each other. So it's kind of interesting. And don't you think? Hello, YOLO. Hello, Stephen Phillips. Can you imagine what you could do with $1 trillion? What your interest on that would be? The interest on $1 trillion would be 600 million every month. Just It's insane. Just to even imagine that much money in the hands of one person, that can't be a good thing for society. Well, one, it's not really one person, right? Apple is a company, but still, to have one company that ginormous in terms of financial stuff. Hi, Ruthie. Hi, D. Feezy. You think it's going to be Joe Biden? I don't know. I don't know. I still think it's going to be Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York. I really think Andrew Cuomo is going to be the one that's going to challenge Trump. I don't know. I don't see Hillary. Don't see. I don't see Bernie. I don't see who else? Oprah, Michelle Obama. I still think Andrew Cuomo would probably be. We'll have New Yorkers, two New Yorkers going at it. Okay, the country is run by New York. The Steaming Bean off to the Mob Museum today in Vegas. Hey, I enjoyed your little super chat there, or your chatty chat of the In-N-Out burger. Yeah, it's you kind of taste it and go, it's a burger. It's good. It's perfectly fine. But some people just, yeah, it's like too much to talk about. It was like that pickled chicken thing over at KFC. There were so many videos about it, and it's like a burger. It's like a chicken piece of chicken with pickles on it. So what? So anyway, we're doing news and views today with Dave Hughes. That's my name, and we are just seeing what the news headlines are. Um, I picked up the Sunday New York Times, and I have read it from cover to cover, and I have memorized every single thing in it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Any hot news stories? Probably one of the bigger news stories today is the fact that there's that guy down in Austin, Texas, who Jason something or other, and they're going to they were going to put these plans, the 3D printer plans. You have those 3D printers, things that can make anything 3D stuff out of this plastic glop. Anyway, they were going to allow people to make guns out of plastic. So you'd have a gun that would be lethal, but it would be made out of plastic and it wouldn't be detected easily at airplanes, airport security things, at schools, wherever they do all that, because most guns have metal in them. Anyway, is that a good thing for the world? Is that a good thing for America? I don't know. He argues that they have the right to do that. It's just freedom of speech and just putting in a plan. I mean, do you have the right to put in a plan for an atomic bomb? If you could easily make an atomic bomb, would that plan be legal? I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting little quandary question to examine there. Uh, Someone reading a newspaper. I I go to the Starbucks, okay, and they usually have a pile of the Sunday Times that don't sell out, and they put them in the back, out by the back door for the trash and recycling. And the lady at the Starbucks said, "Hey, we see you looking at our papers all the time. Go back and check that, like on Monday or Tuesday, and you'll find a pile of New York Times is ready for the recycling. You're free to take them." So I take, that's where I find my paper. I don't pay. How much is it? $6? Yeah, I don't pay $6 for it, but anyway. What voice did you read? What voice did I? What about the bullets? Should they be able to detect? Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't matter if the gun is plastic as long as the bullets are metal. They still can't pass the metal detector. That's a good point, Ruthie. So even with a plastic gun, I mean, you have to have the bullets somewhere if it's going to be of any danger to anybody, right? A gun with no bullets is probably not going to, I mean, you could threaten people, but you couldn't actually do any harm other than hitting them over the head with it. So the bullets would have to be metal. There's no such thing as plastic. Well, I guess are there plastic bullets? I don't know. Michael Moore, 2020. Michael Moore. I never thought of him as a presidential candidate. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I still think Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, he's able to brawl. I don't know. Michael Moore, a movie guy. I don't know. I don't see him as being intellectually tough enough to do it. I just don't. I like Michael Moore, but some of his movies are kind of, I don't know, propagandistic. I don't know. I sometimes find fault with some of them. I don't know. I don't know. Free paper sounds about right, Dave. Ha ha ha. No thanks on Michael Moore. Who could it be now? So who would unless maybe Donald Trump won't get the renomination. Maybe the Republicans will go with somebody else. Do you ever think of that? Maybe they'll make it Steve Bannon. uh, Ronald Reagan was a movie guy. You're right. Ronald Reagan was a movie guy. Absolutely. I mean, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor of California there too, right? You're true. You're right. Ronald Reagan became president, and I think most people would say he was a successful president, right? And he was a movie guy. I don't know. Ronald Reagan, though, had some political experience. He's governor of California for a number of years, and he was also, I think, wasn't he president of the Screen Actors Guild? So he did have some sort of politics in his background. He wasn't just a movie actor. Pro Trump here. I live in Michigan. Help wanted signs everywhere now. Huh. Well, that's very good. Where are the help wanted signs? Uh, are they at the Arby's and Chick-fil-A? Reagan was also the governor. Yeah, right. He was the governor of California. Right back when he was known as Ronald Reagan, right? Oh man, oh man. Anyway, yeah. So just looking at judge presses pause on downloadable gun. Plastic guns are difficult to detect, and concerns about making them, then that's easy to produce them. Well, anyway, even if they aren't easily detectable even with the bullets, even with the bullets being detectable at security places, it still would make guns available to a lot of people that wouldn't have to. They could just print them out and make them themselves. Make your own gun. Is that a good thing? I mean, somebody wants a gun, they can't buy one. Maybe they have a felony record. Maybe there are reasons they can't buy a gun. So they go to the local computer store, buy a 3D printer. Micro Center here in Fairfax you can buy a whole range of them. Then you go and download you can make a lot of things with a 3D printer. You download the gun thing and you make your own gun, and now you've got a gun and you're a felon and there's nobody to stop you. I don't know. So the fact that even yes, with bullets maybe being detectable in certain scanner places, you still will get a whole crop of people now that maybe shouldn't have guns, or maybe can't legally own a gun, that will have a gun. So that's an interesting topic anyway. I don't know. What is the story of this Huawei? I can never pronounce that. Huawei mobile phone in U.S. I don't know, Gus Avocados. Anybody know about that? I wouldn't be surprised if California goes Trump in the next election. Lots of walkaway folks in Southern California. Ruthie, I don't see that happening. I really don't. I think California is solid Democrat. The problem with California is it is a lot of immigrants. It is very Hispanic, heavily Hispanic, and very Asian. And I can tell you here in Fairfax County, Virginia, which is very Hispanic, has a lot of Hispanics in it now, and a lot of Muslims and a lot of Asians. It has gone very liberal, and I think I think the West Coast is going to be very anti-Trump, even in 2020. I don't know. I don't know. It'll be real interesting to see where states like those states that put Trump in power, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those four states pretty much hold the key to the next election. I think everywhere else is going to go where it went before. The West Coast will go for the Democrat, whoever that is. The South will go for Trump, obviously. The Midwest for Trump, obviously. The Northeast for the Democrat. Um, the Northeast comes all the way down to Virginia now. So Virginia all the way up. That's going to be solidly Democratic. Now we got those Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan and Wisconsin, where there's a lot of unemployment. Those are going to be I think those are going to be the four states that are really going to matter a lot in the 2020 election. And if they, first off, if you can get somebody like Andrew Cuomo, who is, kind of respected amongst that kind of group, I think the workers that kind of, and bring in jobs and stuff, I think maybe the Democrats would have a chance with him. But just about anybody else, I don't know. Joe Pesci would be a good. Okay, which celebrity would be a good president? Joe Pesci. I played one on TV. I should be a good president. If it goes Trump, you owe me lunch. If if California goes Trump, okay, I will definitely buy you lunch, Ruthie D. If California goes for Trump, but then you got to make me some meatball sandwiches if it's the other way around. California will not. I would bet the farm on that California will not go for Trump. Sorry, it is just too. As Black Bigot said, there are too many libtards there. It's just too far gone. There are a lot of homeless people in California, yeah, but I don't think they're going to vote for Trump. Okay, and how do you vote if you're homeless, right? Where do you vote? Where do you register to vote if you don't have a residence? The homeless vote. Oh man. So anyway, so yeah, that's some of the big news stories today. Uh, what else do we have here? Got it. Oh, I saw something interesting in the paper today. Where did I see that? I thought I saw an interesting story over there. Well, I guess not. Am I on the right paper? Yeah, I'm on the Sunday paper. I went the Monday paper. The Monday one had a really interesting story I was going to tell you about it, and I can't remember what it was. Alex Trebek may leave Jeopardy. Oh my goodness. In 2020, Mr. Trebek, 78, floated two names as possible replacements. Oh my goodness. Alex Fauci, the play-by-play announcer for the NHL LA Kings, and Laura Coates, a legal analyst and frequent on-air personality for CNN. Facebook Facebook commenters delighted in making their own suggestions from LeVar Burton to Sean Connery. Can you imagine Sean Connery hosting Jeopardy? I don't know, man. Trump administration mulls a unilateral tax cut for the rich. Oh, funny, funny stuff. Funny, funny stuff. So anyway, yeah, Cody Wilson. He's the guy down in Austin, Texas, that is pushing for the downloadable 3D printer gun plans. He's claiming it's a First Amendment issue that the government shouldn't be allowed to have any say in that because it's just plans. You're just making plans and you're sending them out, and owning a 3D printer is legal, and having the plans downloadable are legal. And hey, you can't stop it. What kind of law is going to step in and say no, you can't do that? Anyway, and the fires. Yes, the sad thing about California is it's nothing new. I mean, they have fires out there all the time, fires and mudslides and everything else. But a lot of the land in California wasn't meant for human habitation. I don't think. That to a large extent, the fires are a natural thing. They come from those, it gets very dry out there in the summer, and then you get those big winds whipping around, and then a spark, whether it's intentionally set by a human or whether it's a spark from, a lightning strike or a power line. Somebody said that some of the power lines out there can start the fires if there's sparks coming off a bad transformer or something, and then a whole bunch of fires start. Republicans have said they want to keep Hispanics from immigrating because they will vote for liberals. Yeah, I think that's very true. I think that a lot of the immigrants tend to vote on the left side of things. You look at parts of Virginia, like Northern Virginia, like a lot of the DC area, which has a very high immigrant population now, very multicultural around here, and it's decidedly liberal, very liberal. I mean, no question about that at all. I think the areas that tend to be the whitest areas in the country, tend to be the Trump places. I'm not saying there's a I am saying there's a racial component, or maybe there isn't. I don't know. It just seems like that. Kansas is very Republican, and there aren't a lot of minorities there, whereas California and New York are very not Trump, and there are a lot of minorities there. Can you imagine how much worse it would be if Dave, if global warming was real? Ah, there's a difference between, Ruthie writes, there's a difference between illegal and legal immigration. Sadly, the Democrats try to lump them together. It's offensive. I agree with you there, Ruthie. It's very true. I think that we need to, immigration is immigration and it needs to be legal. You can't just come across the border. And as Donald Trump has said, there's no other country in the world. I mean, most everywhere you go, if you want to go to Canada, if you want to go to China, you got to go through their legal immigration. You can't just walk in the country across the border. The one thing we have always said about the United States is we always have had friendly neighbors. Canada's isn't Canada the border between the United States and Canada the longest unguarded border in the country. I mean, there are places in the Canadian border where there isn't a fence at all. People can just, if you can just literally walk across there. Even the border with Mexico there's a lot of places there where it's relatively easy to get across, and that's obviously why Donald Trump wants to build the wall. And of course, there are a lot of Republicans that are even against building the wall now. I don't know. If you live in, for example, Texas is one of those states where you have a lot of Hispanic immigrants living, and a lot of them are registered to vote now. And if you're a Texas politician, it's almost, especially in a big city like Dallas or Austin or San Antonio, it's almost going to be, it's going to be hard to run in those districts if you are pro wall. I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Oh yeah. I think global warming is a foregone conclusion. The debate about it is whether it's man made or whether it's just a natural cycle. I just think the evidence is just out there that, there's so much new CO2 in the air because of all the, industry around the world, that it's just obvious that it is just very obvious that, it is to some degree man made or some degree man impulsed. Absolutely. Canada is locking down their borders. I live on the border, and it's hard. They were saying that a lot of Americans jested that they were going to go to Canada for when Trump got elected. Right? Let's just go to Canada, and it turns out that it's hard for Americans to immigrate to Canada. It's very hard. You can go move to Canada. You can, you got to prove you have a job. You got to prove you have certain income. You can't just cross the border and say, I want to live in Canada. It's not like going from Ohio to Michigan. I'm going to move from Ohio to Michigan. If you're going to go from Michigan to Ontario, it's not an easy thing, even for a regular American. So they do have very strict. You have to have a job there. You have to have some sort of support. You can't just move there. A lot of Americans too, just retiring in Canada. Say you think, oh, I want to go to Vancouver and retire. It's from what I hear, it's quite tricky. Pollution is not harmless, writes who's that? Pamela Lamb. It's a no-brainer. Absolutely. And it's really sad to see all that plastic crap floating around. Oh, the water there. Yeah, I was born in Canada, so I can go. Go to Canada. Uh, so anyway, we're going to talk about the topic today is Rush Limbaugh. 30 years of Rush Limbaugh. I remember, gosh, yeah, I remember first hearing him back in the 90s. I like the guy. He's an interesting guy. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what he says. He does have a very radio friendly kind of personality. He's very entertaining. And I do find it that I do enjoy listening to his show, at least the beginning of the show. I think, once you get into the depths of it, where he just kind of does a lot of the commercial-y stuff, he does a lot of commercials in his show. But I think what that beginning part where he is, you know, setting the stage for what he sees in a lot of politics, I think is a very interesting thing, and I think a lot of liberals listen to him too, just because he's kind of the voice of a whole political generation there. 30 years of mega dittos. Did you know that he and Howard Stern have the same birthday? I forget the date. I think it's like January the 12th. January, somewhere date in January, are Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern's birthday. Now, they aren't the same age. Rush is a bit older than Howard, but they have the same birthday, which is kind of interesting. When my son was 2, he would say, Brush Inbaugh. I used to like listening to him now and then, writes Adventures. 29 years, 11 months, and 3 weeks too long. So let's accelerate its demise and monetize its demise. What is it? So let's accelerate its demise and monetize it, right, Ruthie D? He's far too. I do, as I say, I find him entertaining. I don't necessarily agree with him. In fact, I'll tell you something. I often have political views that get diametrically opposed to some of the stuff Limbaugh does, but he actually enforces my beliefs on the other side. I listen to him and I go, that's just crazy. And he actually makes me want to believe more on the other side. I think a lot of commentators are like that. It's like they don't necessarily win you over. They make you actually more strident in your disbeliefs or whatever. Anyway. Anyway, Paul Manafort. Is he gonna go to jail? Oh, Europe's having some hot weather too. Europe, Spain is 118 degrees. Holy cow. Hillary Clinton to executive produce TV drama with Steven Spielberg. Okay. What else do we have here? What else? Other big news. Biden. Oh, look at this. I'm looking at Drudge here. Biden leads Trump in early matchup. Politico. Holy cow. I'm just coming upon this story now. Former Vice President Joe Biden leads President Trump by 7 percentage points in a head-to-head matchup according to a new Politico poll. 44% they choose Biden in 2020 presidential election, while 34% would choose Trump. The percentage of Democrats who would choose Biden, 80%, was slightly higher than the 78% of Republicans who would vote for the president. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see how old. How old is Joe Biden? Joe Biden is 75 years old. Well, and how old is Donald Trump? Everybody's getting up there, aren't they? Donald Trump is 72. So Biden is only 3 years older than Trump. So he's not that old, considering, as long as his health is good, right? How old was hmm, that's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Is 75 years old too old to be president? I think if you're in good health and you have a very good vice president that could take over if something happened to you, what the heck? Why not? So yeah, only 3 years older. I don't know. Andrew Cuomo is 60. He's my age. And he's been the governor of New York since 2011. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he would be yeah. Can we get candidates that aren't decrepit? No, no. You must be decrepit to run for president. Our older presidents have historically been better than the younger ones, generally speaking. Oh, well, wasn't Clinton one of the youngest ones, right? Clinton, when he was elected, he was pretty young. Barack Obama was pretty young. John Kennedy was pretty young. Kennedy never got to live to see how he would turn out. So, I don't know. I give Trump credit. He looks younger than 72. He does. I'm almost surprised. I would say he looks probably mid 60s, maybe late 60s. I don't know. Not a day over 68. Ah. John Kennedy was a great president, but he never really had any time to really do anything. Um, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to refill some of my tea. I will be back in 32 seconds. Now we're back to part 2 of Dade almost every day. Doing some politics today. Talking about Rush Limbaugh. We're talking about who might run for president. We're talking about the advent of plastic guns that people can make from downloadable plans on their 3D printers. So anyway, that's some of the news we're looking at today. The fires in California. Oh yeah, poor California. I don't know. I just think a lot of California wasn't made to be lived on, It's just, it's beautiful, beautiful places, but some of those canyons, I mean, geez Louise, it seems like there's either mudslides or fires. Oh my goodness. Massachusetts police force, a small town in Western Massachusetts, all 4 members of its police force quit. They quit. So now this little town of Blandford has no police officers. Sorry, there's no cops here. Whose t-shirt are you wearing? I'm for nobody. Crotchy. Oh, Crotchy's here, by the way. There he is. Hey, hey.
Hi, everybody, it's Crotchy. I'm Crotchy. Yes, sir. I want Frank Zappa for president. I want Frank Zappa. I'm voting for Frank Zappa.
Crotchy, Frank passed away a number of years ago. I mean, he's not around anymore.
No, kidding. How about David Byrne? I like David Byrne from the Talking Heads. He'd be a good president, too.
David Byrne? I never thought of him. I don't know. Well, where'd you get that idea?
Hi, everybody, it's Dave. Yeah. Dave's here. Yeah, there's Dave.
Oh, hello, everybody. There's Crotchy.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Bruce. Bruce Bunger, my daddy. Just want to say hi to you.
Do you know they were talking about speaking of Bruce Bunger, who was from San Jose, California, that's where Crotchy was born. Crotchy was born in San Jose, California. They said, are we buffering? Are we buffering? Are we back? Let's reorient the computer here. Do 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 do. I don't know, man. I don't know. And we're back. Are we back? Good. Yeah, give me a little message saying my internet is freaking out. Is Crotchy a U.S. citizen or an anchor puppet? Well, he was born in America. He was born in San Jose, so I think he's Pat Paulson. Remember Pat Paulson, the Smothers Brothers, 1968? You're an old one. You're an old person if you remember that. So anyway, that's the big news. What other big news is here? Uh, do, 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 do. Food. Oh, they're talking about some. There's places in like Baltimore. All the grocery stores have closed, and apparently the Salvation Army now is running grocery stores in some bad neighborhoods in Baltimore where they have no grocery stores. I guess they're the real estate is bad there or whatever. I don't know. Um, yeah, volunteers stocking the shelves at DMG Foods, a nonprofit grocery store in Baltimore that is run by the Salvation Army. So there are actually places in inner cities where no grocery stores are located. They maybe have a couple of those tiny little markets, and so now and that's interesting. The Salvation Army running grocery stores. There are places where I guess Wegmans and Safeway don't want to be. That is interesting. They talk about that. They say there's what do they call it, grocery deserts in some of the big cities where bad neighborhoods where all the grocery stores have gone away. So hey, do 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 boo 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 boo. It's because of shoplifting and robberies too. You're absolutely right there, Mikey Mike. Yes, uh, they're just in neighborhoods that it's just unprofitable to run a grocery store. Absolutely. I'm home now. Thank goodness, Bama. So anyway, the big news. The big news. Trump calls on Jeff Sessions to stop Mueller's Russia probe. Paul Manafort trial second day. Oh wow. Are we still on? Hello. Car fire out there in California. 1,000 homes destroyed. That's up near Redding, right? That's terrible. That is really terrible. I was watching Blue Van Dam today. He's up in that area. He's one of the YouTubers that I follow. He was hanging out with Caravan Carolyn a while back, but he was showing some. He's driving to some little store where he goes and does his shopping, and it's all burned out. Really sad. It's really sad. Please don't say bad things about the Kennedys. I shook his hand once when I was in junior high. I thought it was odd he had red hair. It was black and white, huh? Remember there was that picture of wasn't there a picture of Bill Clinton shaking Kennedy's hand back when Bill Clinton was like in high school or something. I remember seeing that picture a lot. Yeah. Ah. All right, folks. Oh, there was a plane crash, Aero Mexico in Durango, Mexico yesterday. The plane was taking off and it was some bad weather and it just didn't quite get out of got right up in the air and then came down. Luckily, I think no serious injuries from that. Oh no. Reading the local news here, thieves targeting cars in Springfield. Oh no, I hope they're not, I hope they don't want, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. I gotta chain little Adam up to a tree. Put out a crotchy T-shirt. Wouldn't that be neat? Do you think there'd be enough demand for a crotchy T-shirt?
Yes, Dave, they love me. I am huge. They love me. Crotchy T-shirt. Oh, crotchy with the news. Yeah, I'll do the news. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, what are we at? Almost 40 minutes here. I'm not going to go too much longer. Just wanted to do another episode of Dave almost every day, touching upon some news items here today. Um, so yeah, the plastic guns, big news story. There's about 10 different stories regarding Donald Trump and what's going on with all of that. Yeah, fires out in California, flooding in the east. Again, more rain here. We had heavy rain here in the DC area last night, although it's not too bad today. Should parents be prosecuted for failing to lock up guns used in school shootings? That's an interesting question. Washington posts its fourth wettest July on record. So we're getting a lot. It's funny because it's funny in a odd sense. And I'm not saying funny in a humorous sense, but how it's why is it so dry and hot in the west and then cool and wet in the east? It's weird how that changes, isn't it? It's weird the way the weather is. Hi, Caravan Carolyn. How are you? We're just doing one of my new. I'm just doing this on my Dave Hughes channel. Dave almost every day. Just we do that. We've been doing the Wednesday news chat, and we're just talking upon some big news items today. And the place definitely looks ready to go up. Looks like it's ready to go up in flames. Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. Anyone, big news items, big news. Young bald eagle falls from nest found on sidewalk in Northeast Washington. Holy cow. Oh, the Leslie Moonves scandal there in Harvey Weinstein. Les Moonves is the head of CBS, and there's a bunch of different allegations about him now. Oh my goodness, it's just never going to end. Is Rush dead? No, Rush is still alive. We had 30th anniversary of his radio show. 30 years of Rush Limbaugh on the radio. Probably the most successful talk radio person ever. I guess you could put Howard Stern up in that range too. But I don't think Howard Stern's been on the air. Has he been? He's been. Yeah, Howard Stern got his start in the '80s. That's right. He was on DC 101 here in DC back in '81. So he's been on the air actually longer than 30 years, to be honest with you, right? But Rush Limbaugh has too. Remember, Rush Limbaugh started as on a started in. I think what his career kind of started in Pittsburgh. He was on some top 40 AM radio stations. Jeff Christie. He played the hits as Jeff Christie, and he didn't start his talk radio show until 30 years ago. But he's been in the radio business longer than that. That's for sure. Yeah, Stern, I don't know. Yeah, his career goes back to the 70s because he was in DC. I remember from Private Parts, the movie. He was here in DC in set 81, and then he did Detroit. Before that, he got a job. His first job was like in Westchester County, New York, at some rock station. Then he went to Connecticut, somewhere in the late 70s. So he's been around, 40 a 40-year-ish career, definitely, definitely. Rush and Oprah. 45 years, right. So, yeah, absolutely. I miss Howard Stern on the regular radio. I thought it was a mistake for him to go to Sirius XM. I know financially it probably made a lot of sense. Plus the fact that he was constantly getting tagged by the FCC for saying things that went over the line. They do have broadcast standards, and there's certain words you can't say on the air. But he was getting tagged a lot for that. And I think that was one of the reasons why he wanted to go to satellite radio, where he could pretty much just say anything he wanted to. Yeah, he got fined to death. His stations got fined to death. I don't think he paid the fines personally, but come on, even the fines are a tiny fraction of the amount of money his show made on advertising sales and all that. So, all right, folks, 45 minutes. That's about the length I'm going to do these. This is Dave, almost every day. This is our Wednesday news roundup, talking a little bit about Trump, talking about those plastic guns and the 3D printers, talking about who might run against Trump, talking about the fires in California and some other big news stories. I do appreciate everybody being here today. And I don't know, will I do one of these? It's not every day. It's almost every day. Oops. So I may do one tomorrow. I may not if I feel like I have something to talk about. But I do appreciate everybody being here today. Thanks for watching. And yeah, yeah, man. Vlog or no, stream Silencio.